again. Thank you, Rob. Man, it's so good to see you back up here again. Missed you. Thank you for doing so well. And it's good. Man, just wanted to say, let's see, what is this? Tuesday for Andrea and Jericho and myself, we will begin our 4th year at Eastside Church of Christ. So as we complete 3 years being able to serve and worship with you guys, it gives me another occasion to say thank you and how much we appreciate and love this congregation, and just so glad that we could be here. Last week we had VBS, and if you weren't at VBS, well, you missed a wild time, and it just what it took to get it set up and what it took to tear it all down, and then what to teach the classes and to do the snacks. And there's so many people involved, and just so many people worked so hard and so well that it was a great success, and I think touched a lot of lives of some kids and some grown-ups. And so I wanted to just acknowledge all of us, and I want you to see just how many people were involved. So if you were a class teacher of the children or the grown-ups, if you were involved with snacks, preparing or serving or helping, if you were involved in one of the classes, if you decorated, if you did skits, if you did whatever, any kind of involvement with helping create and do this, would you please stand? These people deserve our thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you all, and brace yourself for next year, because who knows what this beautiful woman down here is going to come up with for next time. And she's already starting to think of, we could do this and this. So that's awesome. Appreciate it. Wow. Just so much happening here. Camp will start, so the senior session will start a week from today, and there'll be a number of us involved in that, and just be praying for that week and those young people and their lives as well. Let's see, what else? I was going to tell you, if you don't know, here's one of the many reasons I love being a part of Eastside Church of Christ. Because this is, and we need to keep bringing this in front of you, the mission. This is a church on a mission. This is a church with a mission. This is why we are here and what we're about and where we want to go. That is to intentionally and deliberately do what we can within scope of the Word and the will of God to help all people develop into completely committed followers of Jesus. It's not enough just to gather. It's not enough just to sing and to spend time here, as awesome as this is. This is a purpose and a destination in mind. And so this should include and involve all of us to be on that journey of discipleship, all that journey of growing and learning and developing into more completely, more fully. I don't know if any of us are completely there yet, but we are on this path to completely committed followers of Jesus. And so the leadership here is committed to doing things, some deliberate things, to enhance and see that this is more likely to come about in all of our lives. And so let's follow their lead. I want to talk about this question out of the text that was just read for us, and read so well. Thank you, sir, for reading that. Yeah, well done. And when I think about this, it makes me think of way back in the 1990s, once upon a time when I was young. I was a youth minister in Texas, and I was involved in a camp session, and the group of us that were kind of involved in helping figure out what we were going to do and lead that came up with an idea about, because we were going to approach this. And I said, let's actually do that. If we're going to talk about carrying our cross, let's carry our cross. And what resulted was we purchased lots and lots of a kind of a half-inch square long pieces of wood, and were cut into a whole bunch of 6-foot or 6-inch pieces and 12-inch pieces. And then they notched each of those so they would fit together. And we got a bunch of nails and string and glue and markers and paint and all kinds of things. And we brought them to the camp. And the very first night we said, here's what's going to happen. We want you to make your own cross out of that. Take one of the 12-inch pieces, one of the 6-inch pieces, put them together, and you can nail it if you want. You can glue it. You can put string around the intersection there, and then you can decorate it how you want. You can put your name on it or whatever, because starting now, tonight, for the whole entire time, 24 hours a day, you're going to be required to carry that cross with you. If you don't, there will be consequences. If we catch you without it, there will be consequences. And we said, you're going to eat with it. You're going to sleep with it. You're going to shower with it. You're going to do sports and activities with it and crafts with it and all these things. You're going to make your own and things. And so they look kind of like this. This is a little bit thicker bit of wood, but I made one like this. This is unadorned, and some of them they got really into it, and man, and they just did this and that, and they just worked, and it was elaborate and beautiful, and they just made some were just kind of plain, some were some in between. But everybody had to have their little 1-foot-tall cross, and so we went, and everybody was excited. It's going to be cool. And everybody marched out, and they carried them, and can you guess how it went? As the first day, man, no problem. Everybody was carrying theirs. But as time went on, things started to get a little more challenging. Because I remember we were playing softball game, and the guy's like, hey, he comes up to bat, and I'm like, where's your cross? And he's like, how am I supposed to carry? Well, one person, he said, this is great, but now it's kind of in the way. And so they made a little string and attached it, hung it around his neck like a necklace, so I don't have to bother with carrying it with my hands. I have my hands free. And others would do this. Sometimes they'd bring it to us and it had broken, and they're like in 2 pieces. It broke. We're like, well, fix it. Keep carrying it. And we would just say, hey, where's your cross? I'm in the shower. So what? I'm in bed asleep. Go get it. And it became more and more of an issue, because this became more and more of a burden, more of an inconvenience, more and more of that was cool for the first day, but man, this is a couple days later, and then it's like the news worn off, and now it's like, stupid thing, and it makes me think about this, because in this text that we want to look at in a minute, but I want to kind of prime the pump, set the stage, because I like to dream about what could be. Hope you do too. And begin with maybe the question of what if. And this text makes me think of questions like this. What if we could and did truly and completely and totally put Jesus before everything? We got to, it's one thing to wear a shirt that says Jesus over everything. I like those. Kind of wear one myself. And it's kind of a theme around here. But what, it was more than just a slogan on a shirt. It was how we actually lived, how we made decisions, how things were done in our lives. What if we loved Jesus more than everybody else? And you know how much you love the people you love most in your life. What if my love for Jesus eclipsed even grandkids, even children, even spouse and parents and all the people we love the most? What if his will, what Jesus wanted, mattered more to me than what I wanted? Because I know what I like, I know what I prefer, and how I wish it was. What if his will made mine just pretty much irrelevant? What if my passion, what if our passion for Jesus was bigger, better, stronger, and more important than our passion for, and here you want to insert your biggest passion, because those will vary among us, right, from person to person. So put in what matters, what you just love the most, whether it's a sport, whether it's a hobby, whether it's career, education, self, somebody else, whatever. What if my passion for Jesus was even more than that? What would change? What if it didn't matter who laughed, who disagreed, who scorned, who thought I was an idiot and told me so, or mocked my faith and my commitment to Jesus, that I just go and do and be and obey no matter what, do it anyway. And what if I quickly and fully, totally, unreservedly, and without hesitation gave my whole heart, my whole self, every part, every piece, every angle, every bit of my heart, my life, my will, and my schedule, my finances, my everything to Jesus? What would that look like? What would change? What would be different? How would it affect my schedule, my bottom line, my time, my voice, my words, and everything else? Fill in the blank. So that's what he's talking about. When you get to Luke 14, this is our text. And boy, there's just some sobering words in here. Because here, there were big multitudes. Another time where there's a lot of big crowds going along with Jesus. A lot of times. So you'd think Jesus would be like, "Hey, it's working. People, look at the big bunch of people that's coming. Let's start a big mega church." But look, he turns to them, and maybe surprisingly so, he says this: "If anyone comes to me," so if you want to be one of mine, you want to come after me, consider yourself one of mine. Okay, but here's what it's going to take. Here's what it's going to require. If he doesn't come after me and does not hate his own father, what? Hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, and even his own life, whoa, he cannot be my disciple. People going, whoa, did he just say that? Hate? Whoever does not carry his own cross. And we're not talking a trinket made out of wood, just big enough, just small enough to hang around your neck or slip in your back pocket. Who does not carry his own cross? Jesus carried his own cross. There is one for you, disciple. You've got to carry yours. Whoever does not carry his own cross, come after me, cannot be my disciple. For which one of you, when he wants to build a tower? He's talking about, see, there's a price to pay, and you've got to consider and calculate whether or not you be willing to pay the price. I thought salvation was free. Oh, it absolutely is. But the logical consequences and the price to pay. Remember, Jesus said, "I didn't come to bring peace, but a sword." He said it'll be division as one accepts him and the other in a family does not. It divides the family, and those are some of the things that happen, and we've seen and experienced some of that. Perhaps when one says Jesus is Lord, and somebody else in their life says that's the stupidest thing ever, and then there's that friction, and there's the price to be paid. So you got to be able to. If you were going to build a tower, you didn't first sit down and calculate the costs. Do I have enough? Am I willing to pay it? To see if he has enough. Does he have enough commitment? Does he have enough will? Does he have enough of what it will take to see it through? Otherwise, when he has laid a foundation, he's not able to finish. All who observe it begin to ridicule him, saying, "This man began to build and was not able to finish." Or what king, when he sets out to meet another king in battle, will not first sit down and take counsel whether he is strong enough with 10,000 men to encounter the one coming against him with 20,000. You need to make sure you know what you're doing, or else what he's got to do is, while the other's still far away, he sends a delegation, says, "Hold up, hey, let's talk peace, man." So therefore, no one of you can be my disciple who does not give up all his own possessions. Wow. What do you think the impact would have been on the ones that heard that day? They're like, "Hey, we're in the Jesus Club. This guy's doing miracles. It's cool. This is going to be neat. Maybe he'll become the king. Maybe he can feed us with all those loaves and fishes. And it's free lunch or whatever to come with this guy. What are we going to see? A show today?" And then he says that. Wow. So we see from what Jesus shows us in this text that carrying your cross is connected with what it means to be a disciple. Disciple is a word that means learner, student, apprentice, a follower, one who is watching the master and trying to emulate him and follow his lead and obey his direction and become what he is like. You got to live as a disciple. Well, that begs the question, what does it mean then? What is required to be a disciple if I got to do that to carry my cross? Well, Jesus answers that in this text, and I'm sorry, you may not like the answer. Because he says, "Oh, here's what you got to do. You got to hate your family." Wait, excuse me? You got to hate your own life. Wait, what? and you got to get rid of all your stuff. Oh, he's separating the men from the boys here, metaphorically with this. Those that want to just play from those who want to be serious. He's separating fans from followers here. Because Jesus wasn't interested in a fan club. He's interested in seriously committed, fully committed disciples. And so, does this bother you? Does that word, that terminology kind of, it's like, wait, Jesus is love and joy and nice and cuddly, and why is he using that word? That's a bad word. I hear that, people screaming that word and stuff on the news, and man, he's telling us to be a hater? So people go, right, wait, you might get this reaction that this young man's like, wait, what are you talking about? We talking about Willis? He's like, oh, wait, what? Yeah. So the idea of the problem here, that's a lot of people trip over that word hate. And I can understand how you could. Because wait, is Jesus telling me to hate? Because some things, hate, like things don't make sense. Like who in the world could hate chocolate? Can't imagine that. That can't be real. Nobody in the world could hate chocolate. But I'm praying for you, man. But so is he actually telling me to hate my family and to hate myself? Well, the way to deal with it, you need to let the scriptures decide this and clarify this terminology. Okay? So then I'm going to give you two ways, and it'll maybe kind of clarify what Jesus is talking about when he says you got to hate these things. Because he's talking about the most serious and important relationships in our world, in our lives. Spouse, children, self, and so on. Well, what you want to do, first of all, you want to compare the parallel passage in Matthew 10. It's one of the nice things about having the four Gospels. Often you can look at an account in one book and compare it with the parallel account from another author in one of the other Gospels. And you see, and in this case, it's really helpful because you go to Matthew 10 in Matthew's account and it'll say this. This is Jesus speaking now. Jesus is saying, he who loves father and mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he who loves son or daughter, see the same relationships mentioned in Luke 14, more than me is not worthy of me. And he who does not take his cross and follow after me, let's go wherever he leads you, is not worthy of me. He who has found his life shall lose it. He who has lost his life for my sake shall find it. Wow. So he's saying you've got to have a more than love. The hate is used as a kind of as a word play here. Maybe some hyperbole that is used to highlight that the love that you have for those that you love the most, and you know how much you love your kids and your spouse and yourself and your parents and those closest in your inner family circle. He's not saying love them less. He's saying as much as you love them so fully, so diligently, so sacrificially, your love for me must be even more than that. How big of a love must that then need to be? It's got to be a more than love. More than everybody and everything else in your life. Woo! That's extreme, isn't it? But his love for us was just that extreme, wasn't it? How extreme was it for Jesus to go here? You know, when he carried his cross, what did he do with it? What did he do on it? What happened to him there? You know, the imagery of the cross, it isn't glamorous. It isn't warm and fuzzy. And so we're asking, when he's saying you got to love me more than, it means your deepest devotion. We'll have different things that we're devoted to in different levels for different reasons. So above and before all of the others, Jesus has to have your deepest devotion, your highest praise, your strongest and most complete commitment of everything else in your life. That's a more than love. Here's a second reason where he's talking about to understand what he means by hate. What you want to do is look at the other things that he tells, some other passages that will clarify what he's talking about, because we're told to love family, because he's saying hate all your other family members. Well, that would be a problem if that's what he literally means, because one of the standard rules of biblical interpretation, kind of like the beginning rules of biblical interpretation, is if your interpretation of this passage clearly contradicts other clearly passages, then your interpretation of this is probably wrong. And if we were to say, yeah, we got to hate, what about all these passages that clearly say we have to love these people in our lives? For example, let's look at a sampling of these. This is by no means all of them, but we'll see that husbands are told, love your wives. Okay? And in Ephesians 5, you go to these passages and many more. You could have a really long list that tell us love one another. We've got to love each other. We're told in John 13, 34, and 35 and in dozens of other places, love one another. And in Luke 6:27, we're told even to love your enemies. What, am I supposed to hate my family and yet love my enemy? How could that work? No. But if you're going to love even your enemies, how much would you also love those closest to you in your life? Matthew 22 says, somebody came and he said, what's the most important thing of the law? And remember what Jesus answered? You love God first, most, and he quotes two different verses from the Old Testament saying that you love God before and above everything else. Then, secondly, love your neighbor as what? As yourself. Telling you what? You love God before and above all else, but then you love your neighbor, and you cannot love your neighbor as yourself if you don't always also love yourself. Right? How can I love my neighbor as myself if I don't love myself? So we put that in context there to understand what he means when he says hate. It's a more than love. So what does it mean? What does cross-carrying involve? Does it mean just everybody needs to take two sticks? Two little pieces of wood, or little, or maybe big? Have you seen people that, we've actually at least seen people that make full-size crosses, huge ones, maybe with 4x4s, and they put a little wheel on the bottom, and they'll walk across the United States or across town. Are we supposed to do that? Should we just get one of? Well, you think about it. What if we did? What if that's what he meant? And think about just for a minute, just to imagine, if you had to literally, if that's what that verse was saying, you had to literally carry a cross 24/7 as a Christian. Everywhere you go, all the time, no matter what you're doing or where you are. Are you cool with that? Would you do it? Even if it was a little one like this. Could we do that? And maybe like camp, we would charge out and go, yeah, we would just be soldiers of Christ, and then first it'd be no problem. We'd be totally fine, and we're taking them to work and putting it on there, and then we'd probably charge out of the gate all gung ho, and that'd be good. But after a while, what happens? Life is life, and real life happens, and as day in day out goes on, then all of a sudden, hey, where's my cross? And oh yeah, I left it in the car. I'll get it after work. Or it's on my desk, or we're trying to play sports and we're like, and then you fall on it and it snaps in half and you're like, oh, well, whatever. And after a while, it becomes kind of annoying. Stupid thing gets in the way, man. It becomes kind of a burden. I have to make what if it had to be a full-size one? How are you going to get that in your car? You have to make a rack for your, on the top of your car for your cross. And we got to think through all these things. What if? But is that what Jesus is asking us to do? No, he's asking us to do something harder. If it was just carrying around one of these, no problem. As hard as this would be, not a problem from compared to what he's actually asking us to do. Because here's what cross carrying is going to quickly involve. First of all, he's commanding us to have an unequaled sacrifice. We're told to offer our bodies as a living and holy sacrifice. That now I don't lay a cow or a goat or a sheep on the altar to sacrifice and worship to God. As it were, I would, not literally of course, but I spiritually, metaphorically, I lay me on the altar and say, here I am. This is all I have, but I will give you everything that I have. All of me, take it. Take it, God, and use it however you want. This is kind of a scary thing to pray, isn't it? Because what if he wants to do something with it that's like different than what I had in mind? But he says, this is your true and proper worship. Wow. A second thing, that carrying a cross means I'm going to be an unrivaled selection. We all have different passions and interests and loves in our heart, but Jesus insists that we choose him and have an unrivaled love, that he sits enthroned as king of our hearts without rival. That we allow no rival for the throne of king of our life and king of our will and king of our hearts and king of our schedules and king of our wallets and everything else. Because the world is always trying to get us to choose the material over the spiritual, the worldly over the heavenly, the temporary over the eternal, the things of the earth and the devil over the things of God, the things that are real and the things that matter. And we will all choose one of those and follow that road. And Jesus told us there's a wide road and there's a skinny, narrow, difficult road. Which one will you pick? Because they have their different outcomes and destinations. So we need to set our minds on things above. And as Matthew 6:33 says, seek ye first. That's before and above all the other things that we seek. Seek ye first his righteousness, the things of God. And then thirdly, cross-carrying can involve an unending service. We are giving ourselves and offering ourselves to serve our Lord as his slaves, as his servants, as his willing, voluntary servants, and say, take me, I am yours. You are king and I am servant. Command me, O Lord. And we serve the Lord. We serve one another as an expression of our service to the Lord too. And then lastly, it means an unlimited submission. Really, one of the best words to talk about what it means to carry a cross is the idea of surrender. We don't like the word surrender. We talk about when a sport team just seems to they get behind in the third quarter and they just give up. They just surrender. They just give up. They just we can't win. So they just phone it in for the rest of the game and they go through the motions and we're like, what are you doing? And we don't like surrender because it means you quit. It means you lost. It means the other guy won. We want to win. We want to be the champions. We want, and yeah, I get that. And in sports and a lot of other things, sure. But what about with Jesus? We are to plant the flag. And it's not the flag of this is my land. It's the flag of surrender. I give up. Because I willingly give all up, gladly, joyfully, willingly to you, because you are the champion, Jesus. You are King and Lord. That's what it means to carry a cross. Wow. So, will we? Will we carry a cross? Will it be just, just symbolic? Oh yeah, I'm a Christian. I go to church, I sit down and I go through the thing, and I pray some prayers and say some stuff, and I maybe drop in a check, and that's those things are great. But is that it? Is it just symbolic? Is it just like I'm gonna carry 2 sticks of wood put together? It's like kids at camp, and then after camp, okay, what's next? Now we might not be that brazen about it, but Boy, let's not ever do that, because carrying a cross may be symbolized by this, but it's more than this. Will you love him with a more than love? And will you give him these things? Let us do that. Let us commit and recommit, and then tomorrow recommit, and then after that recommit, that we will always carry our crosses in these ways as we continue that. If there are any here that have never done that, because you've never given Jesus your life and never picked up your cross to begin with, because when you obey the gospel and surrender your life and become his, then you in effect pick up your cross to begin that journey and to carry it. And you can lay it down when you come into the arms of Jesus in heaven. He'll say cross, and he'll trade you this for a crown. Okay, until then, carry it and hold on to what it means to be a disciple of his. If you need help or prayers or whatever we can do, express, encourage you to make that known while together we all stand and sing.